Cobre Desensitizing to a Tarp, Bluebonnet Equine Challenge, Fall of 2022. So I started with the tarp by just having her walk behind it as I was dragging it away from her, as that just kind of lets her be a little more curious about it, less scared of it, and kind of just builds her confidence with it. It's much less scary to follow behind something than having it coming towards you. Then decided to try and bring up the energy with the tarp and see how she reacted to that. As you can see, not really that, oh, there she got a little bothered by it. So I definitely don't want to stop that motion until she stops moving. I want to take that motion away whenever she's still calm, relaxed, and quiet. Teaching her that we want her to stay in that calm, quiet stance, in that calm, quiet mental state, so that she's not frightened by it, and it's not something that's to be feared. So then I kind of tried to keep that motion going again until she relaxed. And right there she relaxed, so I stopped. She relaxed and became less tense and lowered her head and kind of just chilled and looked at me. So then I started the motion going again, and again waited for her to be calm and relaxed. And as you can see, a lot faster than the first time. So desensitizing, that's a big word. What all that means is basically getting an animal or a human even used to something that they're potentially afraid of, worried about, fearful about, with little steps forward each time. There are several different methods for doing this. One of those methods of doing that is making a stimulus, something they're afraid of, occur and continue occurring until she relaxes and is no longer worried about it. Also, kind of using an advanced in retreat method, where you create that stimulus, get her calm to the point and then back away from it. Basically, again, trying to get her used to, accustomed to, not fearful of what's going on. There also is, methods of doing it where you get just up to the point where she's worried about it and then retreat. If you don't ever push past that boundary just a little bit of where she is worried about it, though, then you're not going to make any kind of progress. And so you do have to kind of stretch her comfort zone a little bit as far as with what she's comfortable with. Here she's now relaxed quite a bit in response to that tarp. And so we're just going to continue doing that. And, the one thing to keep in mind is it's not just one session that, gets her past that. It's multiple, short sessions, over a long period of time. Training is not a process that happens overnight. It's not a process that happens in a week. It takes a long time for those behaviors to become learned and ingrained. One of the other things is kind of, the first step is to get it to the point where, she's not moving her feet and not away, running away from it. The second step is, waiting until even she's relaxed in the presence of that motion. And, body language is also very important, keeping your body language very relaxed, not pointing pressure at her anywhere along her body or shoulder or back end. We don't want to give her any subtle cues with our body language that we actually want her to move. We want to try and stay relaxed and calm and soft with our body so that she's not being given mixed signals and mixed clues about, moving versus standing still. We want to make it very clear to her. So even though she's not moving her feet here, you can see she's kind of moving her head. She definitely is kind of tossing her head up and down a little bit. And so I'm waiting until her body softens and she actually relaxes before I stop what I'm doing. Even though she is standing still, I want her to kind of go the step beyond that to a point where she's even more in a more relaxed state. So here I've kind of, gotten to the point where I'm trying to, instead of just, doing that rhythmic motion, trying to have the Tarp touch her body and her be comfortable with that. It does make kind of a loud crinkly noise that's a little bit, can be a little bit concerning. So just kind of, petting her, rewarding her for standing still. It's always, about not only taking away something that's, a little bit viewed as negative to them, but also giving them some positive reward as well, whether that's petting, praise, a treat, what have you. So here I was able to put it on her back and get her to walk forward, and she did great with that. Didn't seem to be too bothered by it on her back, didn't seem to be concerned. Now right there she took a step towards me, almost as if trying to push me out of the way, and that's something that I definitely, you don't want to let her continue to do, because if that occurs, then she will feel like she can push you out of the way and doesn't have to listen to you. So right here I did kind of push her back the other direction. That way she doesn't get the idea that she can come in towards me like that, because that's never a good posture for her to take, a good behavior for her to do, because that's how a horse can learn that they can kind of run over you and kind of start to boss you around a little bit, and instead of learning that, knowing that, the human is the one that's in charge. And here she kind of got her little feet tangled up in the line a little bit, and didn't panic or anything, but certainly was a little bit concerned. But she reacted pretty well to that overall. She still has the tarp on her back. It's still kind of, waving and moving and crinkling as she's moving. Just kind of letting her feel that tarp, and kind of feel it moving on her body, around her drum, things along those lines. And then I sent her off to walk with the tarp on her back. Having the tarp on her back is also a good thing to get her used to being blanketed in the winter, which is something that they have to get used to as well, so that if it drops below to a certain degree and gets too cold, they can have a blanket on and stay warm outside. But asking her to walk forward with that tarp on her back, changing those other stimuli that are going on around her while while other things are going on. She knows what the sending means, and so now we're working with her on sending, with something else on her back. So she's used to the saddle, getting her used to the tarp, and just kind of building on some of those things that she knows, and asking her to take it a step further. A good example, sometimes in dog training, if you ask a dog, if you always ask a dog to sit while you're in a standing position, changing that around and asking them to sit when you're seated on a sofa, you may not get the same response. You kind of changed the scenario, changed the boundaries, changed the situation, and so we're kind of just doing the same thing here, getting her more used to just different things, different experiences. The more that she can experience, the less fearful she'll be. And here, I picked her up into a trot to kind of see how she would handle that, and it actually then, she did pretty well. No bucking at it, no freaking out about it. Trotted off nicely, even though it's kind of dangling around down near her legs. Went ahead and scooted it back up on her back so that it didn't fall off. Asked her to trot off again. And she's doing really good. She's listening to what I'm asking. She's paying attention. She's being very responsive. Doing really well. And here, it falls off of her back. And, as it was sliding down her rear end, she didn't kick out at it, didn't buck at it, didn't freak out about it. Just kind of let it float to the ground, and then came to a stop because I walked forward, and so she stopped when she felt that pressure on the halter. part of this desensitizing with the Tarp too, I was trying to get her ready for the 4th of July parade that we participated in. By having I had draped a towel over our saddle that was an American flag, so that she could be all ready for 4th of July. Asked her to canter, antelope, canter, whatever you want to call it, same thing. And it went flying off, and again, she just came to a stop and didn't really seem to mind. Didn't go running away from it, skittering away from it, or tearing